Steve here with Table Rock Tea Company. Well, it is a little bit of a rainy day here today, so that means catching up on some shop projects that I've got backing up on me. I've got several machines. As you're looking around, I've got to work on a bunch of stuff. Got a hammer mill back here. I've got a waste fill machine, a bagging machine. But today, I'm going to be working on something to prepare for this coming fall, and it is a plant seed stick, I guess you could call it. Let me show you what I'm doing. The first thing I did was take this 1 by 36 inch, so 1 inch by 3 foot galvanized pipe, and I'm going to cut the tip on it. Now I've already done this. I used my iron ton metal cutting circular saw. Thanks, Jared, for the tip. On this, I wanted to go more than a 45-degree angle. You'll see why in a second. So this only goes to 45. So what I did was I moved the set, or the, I guess the lock mechanism, all the way back so that it's kind of off, and then kind of wedged it in place like that. So that gave me a more acute angle to cut off. So you can see what I ended up with here on my pipe. So this is the cutoff section that was right there. So like I said, I wanted more of a acute angle so that when I step it into the ground, it'll just be better than a 45. The next thing I'm going to do is weld handles. These are 5 inches. I'd say you could also do 6, but these are just 3/4 inch pipe to make a handle. So you have the nice T-handle like a pogo stick. Now I use these magnetized squares for welding. They make life so much simpler. We'll get to these in just a second. But what you want to make sure you do is line up those handles so that it works with the bevel on what you just cut. So I made this so it's sticking straight up. I have this magnetized in blocks so that it doesn't move on me, and so that way this is straight in line with those handles. Now I use the same block type thing here to make sure that I'm 90 degrees, nice and square. But remember, the handle is a little bit smaller diameter than the actual stick, and so with that I had to shim it up a little bit. So what I did was just you put this little shim of metal so that it's floating like that, so that way when you weld it, it's nice and in the center of the pipe. So once the handle's welded, it's going to look like this. Yes, these are pretty bad welds. Don't worry. I never call myself a welder. I can weld, but I would never insult a welder by saying that I am one. But it holds, and we'll get all that sloppiness with the angle grinder later. But you can kind of see what we're looking at, and you can see that's lined up there nicely in the middle. Next, we're going to weld these little foot stops, where we're going to use these to step the spike into the ground. But more importantly, you want to set it so that they are going to stop the seed poker from going too far into the soil. So I already know that I want the depth of my seeds to be this length, or this depth. So if you set these there, when these hit the ground, that's as far in as you want this thing to go. So again, you set them at 90 degrees. I'll use my magnets, and those are going to correspond to the T-handle just like that. So here is the seed stick with all of the welds finished. I took an angle grinder, of course, and just smoothed them out a little bit. So yeah, whatever you mess up in welding, you can usually fix with an angle grinder. But yeah, so that's the gist of it. And we'll take it to the bench and finish it out. The last parts you need are a funnel that is basically, I think, a 2-inch to a 3-inch, and then a reducer. And this has threads on the inside. That's 1-inch threading, and then a 2-inch slip. We put these together like so, and then these will screw onto the stick. And that's it for the simple seed stick. It's essentially just a pogo stick What this allows you to do is spike the ground with just the depth that you want for the seed, and then just drop the seed into the hole and move on to the next one. This is particularly good for us with the tea farm because we're going to try some experimental in situ planting in the fall. So we'll be putting out thousands of seeds, 4 seeds per hole rather, and that could get quite tedious without this thing. So yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention is this cutoff piece. You're going to want to save that just in case, you know, as you keep poking this into the ground, eventually this may wear out. So you have another one that you can easily weld right onto it. You know, grind that flat, weld that on, and essentially you have 2 tips. So that's pretty cool. The amazing seed stick. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned to see what else is brewing here at Table Rock Tea Company.